Well, hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I wanted to welcome you all. Can you all hear me? Okay. Do you have a good view of the screen? Can everybody see the screen? Yes, thank you. So I wanted to welcome you to our very first in a series of educational experiences centered on aging in place. So I'm Jan Beatty of the Aging and Disability Commission. And tonight, I hope we're going to learn a little bit more about the issues we need to think about when we're thinking about aging in place. In September, we will host an Aging in Place Expo. And there, it will be right here at the library. And there you'll be I know many of you picked up a lot of materials here, but at the expo, you'll have the chance to talk with both people and some of the services and agencies, a vast array of people at that expo that might be able to help you decide whether aging in place is right for you. So tonight, we're going to hear from two people who are experts on, and they can help us start the process of thinking about whether aging in place is right for us. And each one of them will speak first, and then after that, we'll have time for questions. Okay? So before I introduce them, I'd like to thank our co-sponsors here, who are the Simsbury Senior Center and our public library, who does so much for us. So the speakers, yes, let's hear it for them. So our speakers tonight are, first we're going to have Kate Kellett. This is Kate. She is a gerontologist and clinical research associate in the Center on Aging at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. So using quantitative and qualitative research methods, she conducts and evaluates evidence-based health services research focused on rebalancing long-term care systems, improved quality of life for older adults, people with disabilities, health disparities, and people living with dementia and their formal or informal caregivers. Our second speaker tonight is going to be Liz Cornish. And this is Liz. Liz is a physical therapist and a certified senior advisor, a certified dementia practitioner and care specialist, and the owner of New Season in Life. I think you have little packets on your chairs that Liz very nicely created for you. And that is a company that specializes in helping seniors find the best senior living options for their individual needs. So Liz has spent over 30 years in home care PT, working with seniors and families. So Liz's extensive experience and knowledge of area resources makes her an invaluable asset for seniors and their families looking for guidance in the best options as they age. So what I would like to do is introduce Kate, and we'll have a couple of PowerPoint presentations, and then you can feel free to ask questions of either one of them. Okay? So Kate, over to you.
I just want to thank you, Jan, for inviting Liz and I to come and speak tonight about aging in place. And we're just excited to hear about Simsbury's commitment to becoming an age-friendly community. So we're gathered here tonight for a couple of reasons. First, with support from the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities. As you know, Simsbury is on a journey to becoming an age-friendly community, which is a great opportunity for everyone here.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Oh, okay, thanks. Can you hear that? Is that better? Okay. Becoming an age-friendly community is important in creating a more inclusive and accessible environment for people of all ages, particularly older adults, fostering healthy aging, and improving the overall quality of life for residents. Age-friendly communities address various aspects of living, including housing, transportation, health care, and social participation. Age-friendly communities aim to ensure that older adults can remain connected, active, and contributing members of society. The other reason we're here tonight is because of population demographics. And I'm referring to the boomer generation, those born between 1947 and 1967. This generation is significantly impacting aging in place, primarily because boomers are opting to stay in their homes longer than previous generations, and are in doing so influencing housing markets and requiring adjustments in community services and social support. Aging in place is the ability to live in one's own home and community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age, income, or ability. And aging in place enables people to maintain independence, autonomy, and connection to social support, including family and friends. Remaining at home and in the community for as long as possible also avoids the costly option of institutional care and is favored by policymakers, healthcare providers, and by many older people themselves. Aging in place isn't a phrase that was coined by any particular person. It's a concept, and this concept has evolved over time and been influenced by changing demographics, policy shifts, and research findings. Mortimer Powell Lawton was a leading researcher in environmental gerontology and in studying the physical and psychological needs of people as they age. I mentioned Dr. Lawton because he developed a model to understand an individual's competence and the demands of their environment and how it can impact their well-being, their independence, and ability to thrive as they grow older. And some of what we'll explore tonight is grounded in Dr. Lawton's work. According to the 2024 Home and Community Preferences Survey, 75% of adults age 50 and older want to remain in their home as they age. The desire to remain in their home was even stronger among adults age 65 and older, and those living, guess where? In towns or rural areas. I've been in my home for almost 40 years, and I'm definitely aging in place, and there's definitely going to need to be some changes if I decide to continue living there. But when you think of home, what comes to mind? What are some of the words that come to mind? And you can just shout them out if you want to. What is that? Safety. Safety. Comfort. Great. Comfort. Familiar, yes. I like that. What else? Home sweet home. Home sweet home. It might not be that way for everybody, but we all have our own experiences, don't we? Any other things that come to mind?
Lots of maintenance.
Lots of what?
Lots of maintenance.
Maintenance, yes. That's for sure, yes. Yes, we're having an ongoing discussion in my home about who's going to do all the gardening, because I like to garden and it's kind of gotten out of hand over the years. And now who's going to do it, since I have trouble getting down there sometimes to weed and things like that. So we're trying to decide, do we downsize? Do we stay here where it's familiar? And it's a place that's safe. We can go there, we can recharge. So there's a lot of things to think about when you're deciding to age in place. This is a word cloud of home is more than a building, and I think that our thoughts tonight about home illustrate that home is certainly more than a building. And it means different things to different people, doesn't it? Sometimes there are unpleasant things that happen in a home, but hopefully it's more happy things and being with family and visiting with one another, those kinds of things. And you can see in this word cloud, one of the words is money. So it's probably, maybe the person was thinking there's things that need taken care of and there's costs to doing that when we have a home and we're deciding to continue living there. There are many benefits of aging in place. Certainly one of the foremost ones is maintaining your own independence. There's health benefits as well, including improved quality of life. And by improved quality of life, I mean it's an individual perception of what it means for you or what it means for me, and it could be different things. Familiar surroundings, somebody mentioned a home is familiar, and certainly that's true. There's a sense of comfort that comes with familiarity. You know exactly what it's going to be like when you get home, and that's comforting to know. There's a sense of belonging as well, and usually increased social connectedness when we're aging in place in our homes. And it could be that there's reduced healthcare costs and the potential for affordability compared to other long-term care options, primarily because home care services may be more affordable than institutional service care. Earlier, a few slides back, I mentioned Dr. Lawton. And I mentioned Dr. Lawton in his research in environmental gerontology and how the concept of aging in place is influenced by his work. According to his model, when a person has the capabilities to meet the demands of the environment, or the demands of the environment are reduced to match the person's capabilities, a successful interaction occurs, and there's a sense of well-being. However, when the demands of the environment become greater than a person's capabilities, it can become more challenging to adjust to the environment. And what happens is there's a mismatch between the person and the environment, and you come to a tipping point. And you have to make some kind of decision. Just a week and a half ago, one of my college friends called, and I hadn't heard from her in a while, and I knew that she was struggling with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and it had gone into remission, which is a good thing, and that was good news. But when she called me, she told me that she's also in the beginnings of Parkinson's, and to complicate matters, she's been falling a lot. She has a lot of mobility issues. She's using a walker all the time. Fortunately, she's living on the first floor of an apartment building. But she called and she said, you know, for so many years I've been independent. And she said, my daughter, who has 6 kids, invited me to live with them. But you can imagine why she might not like to. She said that she loves her grandchildren dearly, but it's just more than, it's a little chaotic, she said. So she has come up, and then the surgeon told her that she also needs to have a knee replacement. So there's all these things kind of coming together, and there is a mismatch for her between the environment that she's living in and the things that are happening to her as an individual. And so she has this tipping point. And what am I going to do now? So I told her, explore a lot to see what your options are and take your time when you make decisions like this. So across the lifespan for all of us, there are changes in capability, sometimes predictably and sometimes unpredictably. And for predictably, sometimes it's things like decrease in physical strength, hearing and vision loss are common occurrences, and our working memory declines. And thus I have my notes because you have to get rid of some files to take in new information, right? My husband just finally went and had a hearing test because he said he didn't need one for several years now. But he was always saying, what? So, I got tired of repeating myself all the time. So he finally went to UConn this past week and had a hearing test. And he told me that he's lost his hearing in the upper range. And I said, oh, really? And he said, yes, the audiologist told him that it was, that the upper range includes women's voices and children's voices. I said, of course. So these age-related changes can pose problems or challenges for us as we age, especially in meeting the demands of the environment. And then there's the unpredictable events that happen that limit our capabilities and resources. And a fall, for example, if someone falls, and if it's a fall with a fractured femur, it's going to take a while to heal. And if you're in a home that has a bedroom that's on the second floor, then you have to make some changes, either have a bed on the first floor or come up with some other solution until you can go safely up the stairs. The 2025 Connecticut Healthy Aging Data Report was just released a week or so ago, and it happened at a perfect time. It's a very valuable tool, and I'll be passing the information on to Jan and others, but there's a handout on the table that will tell you how to access this online tool. And the researchers that put this together are at the Gerontology Institute at the University of Massachusetts in Boston. And they've put together all the information for Connecticut in this one place. And you can go online and click on Simsbury or Avon or Canton or wherever you're interested in looking at the demographic data and find out what's going on in that town. And the researchers there are participating in this to help accelerate Connecticut's progress in creating an age-friendly, longevity-ready, healthy community, which I applaud, and it's going to be very helpful for people in our state, I think. So I went and looked to see what was going on in Simsbury, and found out that 18% of people are age 65 and older. Compared to Connecticut state average rates, older Simsbury residents have lower rates of congestive heart failure, diabetes, heart attack, liver disease, substance use, and tobacco use disorders. However, they have higher rates of Alzheimer's disease, cataracts, glaucoma, and migraines. And only 3% or almost 4% of Simsbury residents age 65 and older have experienced a fall with a hip fracture. Falls, as we know, have a significant impact on older adults, resulting in impairments in activities of daily living and decline in quality of life, safety, and functioning. As just mentioned, changes in capability and health make it difficult to maintain some of the activities of daily living. So sometimes it's things like feeding or eating, toileting, bathing can be particularly difficult, especially if you're having to climb in and out of a tub to shower. And there may also be challenges with instrumental activities of daily living. So that would be things like cooking, managing medications, managing finances, and performing housework. I already have trouble performing housework. So my husband is in control of the vacuum. So let's see. I think it went forward here. Also, data from the Gerontology Institute at the University of Massachusetts. In Simsbury, 25% of adults aged 65 and older live alone. And in eight communities, Connecticut communities, nearly half of older adults, or 47%, live alone. Simsbury is not one of those communities, but 25%, as I just said, age 65 and older, live alone and could be at risk of social isolation. When we think about aging in place, social isolation is a growing concern because it can potentially impact physical and mental well-being. Aging in a private home can be both a protective factor and a risk factor for social isolation and loneliness. As a protective factor, aging in place provides familiarity, and there's that word again, and a sense of comfort. But it becomes a risk if there are functional disabilities that emerge and are disruptive. As we age, a number of factors increase our risk of social isolation. Loss of loved ones can lead to a significant decrease in social interaction. Decreased mobility and chronic health conditions, physical limitations, or disabilities make it more challenging to engage in activities that bring people together. Sometimes limited income is an issue and can impact transportation and the ability to travel to social activities and other events in the community. And other things like retirement, a change in your schedule, not seeing people as often as you do if you were working, lack of family living nearby, and loss of hearing or vision. Our connection to other people helps us survive and thrive. Community is very important. But as we age, many of us are alone more than when we were younger. And this may make us more vulnerable to social isolation and loneliness. Some of the consequences of social isolation include anxiety or depression, decline in memory, reasoning, and problem solving. There's a greater risk of dementia. And physical health issues can also contribute to a weakened immune system and lead to an increased risk of heart disease. Dr. Cole is a medical doctor and researcher at the Division of Hematology Oncology at the University of California School of Medicine, and he said, loneliness acts like a fertilizer for diseases. The biology of loneliness can accelerate the buildup of plaque in arteries, help cancer cells grow and spread, and promote inflammation in the brain, leading to Alzheimer's disease. Loneliness promotes several different types of wear and tear on our bodies. I just want to add that social isolation and loneliness don't always go together. About 28% of older adults in the United States live alone, but many of them aren't lonely or socially isolated. It's possible they might be an introvert like me who likes my quiet time. And I don't mind being alone. At the same time, some people may feel lonely despite being surrounded by family and friends. And maybe some of you have felt that from time to time. Fortunately, there are some things we can do to combat social isolation. Participating in social activities is very important. In the Aging Well and Simsbury survey results from 2023, which maybe some of you participated in, we learned that 32% of residents want to be more social, and 40% want to be more active in the community. And I think that's a wonderful thing for Simsbury. Another thing that we can do to utilize, to combat social isolation is to utilize technology. I just finally switched from an Android phone, which I had had for 14 years, and decided to switch to an iPhone, and there was quite a learning curve. But I did it so that I could have opportunities to visit face-to-face with my grandsons, my daughter, and my other two sons. And you just prop it up in the kitchen while you're cooking and have a little conversation while they're doing their meal, I'm doing mine, and it's nice to see them. It's not the same as being in person, but it's certainly something very positive. Fostering intergenerational connections is a way to also combat social isolation, especially if you're newly retired, and volunteering at local schools, at a library or a church. I know in one of my grandsons, in his school, when it's their birthday, you can go in and read a story to the children. And so it's a wonderful experience because you can, number one, pick the book with your family member, and then you can go in and you get to meet all the children that are in his class. And my husband, he volunteers at our church, and he, with the boys group, every Tuesday night, except they have a little break for the summer, but he does the crafts with the boys in ages, I think they're grades 1 through 4, and then runs the Pinewood Derby, which is the big event of the year for the boys. But he gets to socialize with the children, with the other volunteers that are helping out. So some of them are older, some are younger, some are teenagers, but it's a great way to connect with other people and keep those intergenerational connections alive, especially if you have family that aren't living close to you. And then to seek healthcare system support. Health providers are very in tune to listening. And I know that when I teach the fellows at UConn, I always underscore active listening, and that it's the greatest research opportunity they will ever have to listen to their patients, not just looking at test results, and those things are all very important too in diagnosing, but part of that is actively listening. What is my patient saying? And it might not be verbal. It might be with, you have to take in the whole person. So we fortunately have great health providers at UConn, and you probably have providers where you live and that you've chosen to go to, who will listen to you and help you as you seek support for your health care. While aging in place seems ideal, it's not always the best option for older adults, especially those who may be vulnerable or who have family who have few family or community ties. And so I like Lim Bauman's choice of words, which is aging in place of choice. And aging in place of choice, wherever you finally decide to live, includes safeguarding. So safeguarding includes defining needs and priorities. For example, ask yourself, what kind of environment do I want to live in? And what about transportation? How will I get to the doctor? How will I get to the pharmacy? How will I get to church? How will I get to the grocery store? If you have a car, that's one thing, but some people don't have the luxury of having a car anymore or unable to drive. And as we know in Connecticut, it's a huge problem. Everywhere I go, people say, we need help with transportation. And then what about social relationships? Is it important for you to be near family and friends? So these are things that you want to factor into your decision when you're thinking about aging in place. You also want to evaluate your home environment. So how accessible is your home if you were to fall and be unable to walk through the house without hurting yourself or falling? Do you need to install grab bars or widen doorways or add ramps or level floors? And I recently I always go with my my research team when they have, this was a study for CHCPE, it's a waiver in Connecticut, and one of the people on my research team was going out on her first interview. So I always go so she can be supported and, I can make recommendations for her interview style or whatever happens to come to mind. And this man had lost all his family. He was going to a church and he met a family at that church who decided to take him under their wing, so to speak. And they had a raised ranch, so they modified the downstairs. They widened doorways. They put in an accessible bathroom for him. He had a Hoyer lift, so they had to make sure the ceiling was strong enough to support that. And at the time that I went on this interview with our team, he wasn't getting out of bed yet, but he was hoping to at some point. So it was very much out of the kindness of their heart that they took him in to help him. But those I was thinking as I looked around their home of all the things that had to be changed so that he could safely be there and begin his journey toward rehabilitation and health. And then we always want to think about fall prevention. What measures can be taken to reduce the risk of falls? Do you need to install handrails, improve lighting, address tripping hazards such as throw rugs? And I have throw rugs, but we just put down a new rubber, whatever you call those mats underneath so that it stays put now. So those are things that we don't think about, but it's very easy to trip over throw rugs. If you haven't seen it yet, on the table on the side, there's a home safety infographic, and it's safety tips for older adults, and it mentions things like installing a ramp, removing area rugs, ensuring good lighting, installing grab bars, and reducing fall hazards. When you're aging well, this also means evaluating your support systems. So again, when we think about family and friends, do you have trusted family members or friends who are willing to provide support with daily tasks, errands, or transportation if you need it? And if you need help with personal care or household tasks, how will you find out about and select professional care services? And if your mobility is limited, how will you maintain social connections and avoid loneliness? There's also financial considerations, costs and factors to consider when you're aging in place. What will it cost, for example, to make necessary home modifications? And if you need to hire a professional caregiver to help you, how much will it cost? And what additional costs are associated with adult day services that provide activities, socializing, and sometimes medical monitoring? And then there's transportation again, the cost of car insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs, and then it depends how much you drive. If you like to go out every day, then your costs probably will go up for transportation. Or if you only go out once or twice a week, they might not be that high. Legal and financial planning is something to consider as well if you haven't already. Do you have a will that explains your wishes for your property after you die? And have you granted a specific person power of attorney to act on your behalf if you are unable to carry out your legal and financial matters? And do you have an advance directive that tells your healthcare providers who should speak for you and what medical decisions they should make if you become unable to speak for yourself? And if you've been to the doctor recently, maybe they've asked you if you have one and if they don't have it on file. And it's always good if you do have one to provide it to them so they can provide the best of care for you. And then have you planned for costs of living increases as you grow older and the possibility of requiring long-term care? It's my understanding from Jan that at the expo in September, there will be experts in all of these areas. There will be some probably attorneys, maybe medical professionals. I think she mentioned some already at the beginning of our meeting tonight, and they will be present to answer questions if you have specific questions about some of these things. So look forward to hearing more about that. I've mentioned some of the changes and challenges we encounter in growing older, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the considerable capacity that older adults have to adapt, even through age-related changes and unpredictable events. And again, I refer to Dr. Lawton, who describes aging as a transactional process of continuous adaptation to changes in both the external environment and internal capabilities. And I imagine that everyone here in this room has been adapting and may not even know it to various situations as we've been aging. Some of the factors that improve our well-being and support adaptation, a healthy lifestyle, physical activity. I'm told it should be about half an hour a day. Seeking healthcare treatment when needed. And some of the strategies to improve adaptive abilities: select activities you enjoy and participate in them, optimize resources to maintain health and well-being, and then compensate for limitations. Does anybody know why I have a picture of Arthur Rubinstein in the PowerPoint here? He's probably the best example we have of adapting as a person ages. He was a classical concert pianist, and he played into his 8th decade. And he was 88 when he played the last performance, and he played Grieg's Concerto in A minor, Opus 16, and he, at the time, was unable to read anything because he had lost half of his sight. And so he used this model, which is a model from Paul Baltz, who was another researcher and psychologist, an expert in growing older. And he selected a smaller range of pieces that he would practice. So that was his selecting part. And then he optimized by playing that small repertoire over and over and over again. And then he compensated by playing certain movements of the piece. Before he had a faster section, the section before it, he would play it a little bit slower than he had played it when he was a younger man. And so it still sounded like the Allegro that movement was pretty fast, but in actuality it wasn't, because he wasn't able to play it that fast at 88 because his reflexes had slowed. So he's a great example to us of how we can adapt, how we can select, optimize, and compensate in life. And I hope all of us will learn to capitalize on the considerable capacity we have to adapt as we age in place or in place of choice. So as you consider aging in place or place of choice, don't forget the community resources that you have here in Simsbury. This was from the 2025 Connecticut Healthy Aging Community Profile. And you have 2 assisted living facilities, 3 primary care providers, 2 home health agencies, 2 skilled nursing facilities, 1 Alzheimer's disease support group, 2 hospice agencies, a senior center, and not to forget this wonderful place where learning happens, your library. And I've actually been coming to this library for a long time because my daughter lives in Simsbury, and I used to bring my grandson here when he was very young. He's 15 now, but when he was kindergarten age, we would come here for programs. And I came here for a program last year, I think, with my other grandson. So it's a happy place to come, and you're fortunate to have such a great library. As Simsbury continues to focus on becoming an age-friendly community, I'm sure and I'm confident that it will become a stronger community, one that's more inclusive and supportive of all people, including those who choose to age in place or in place of choice. It will empower older adults to remain active and engaged in the town and value the multiple ways older adults contribute, including through work, through leadership, through advising, through mentorship, and through volunteering. Those are all important. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to turn it over now to Liz. And
So while Liz gets set up with her PowerPoint, just if you can hold your questions, try to keep them in mind. I know that was a great, great presentation, and you had so much. I never knew so much about Arthur Rubinstein. That was great. So Once Liz is done, then you can ask either one of them your questions, okay? Fair enough? Okay. So far, so good?
All right, we have a little technical thing.
Oh, you have to go to a different. Well, it was so far so good. She's going to grab her own computer and see if we can make it work with her own computer. I'm not exactly sure why that's not working right now.
All right, let's see. I did.
There's yours. So you have that.
It should.
It should.
Yeah.
Yep, she's well aware of these things. Yeah. Yay, that's good. Do you want your USB drive? No. Okay. Right on top here. Will it come all the way over? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Here we go.
Hey. All right. We're back.
Who says older people don't know technology? Whew. Well, welcome. I am Liz Cornish, and I'm going to be talking. We've got some overlap. We're going to be talking a little bit broader, deeper. We're going to talk about other options as well as aging in place. In the bags that I had given you, there is a fall prevention and safety home checklist. That's in there with things to look for room by room in your home. And then on the other side are solutions that are easily accessible and available for you. Okay. Why did that not go? Okay. Well, it is advancing on my screen, but it is not advancing on yours. Well, no, I don't know why. I've got mine connected. That's why. Nope, that doesn't need to be connected. It's not connected to anything.
Can you?
Okay. All right. We're going to wing it. And the cavalry has been called, so hopefully they'll get here and we can kind of run through things. So, when should you start planning for your future? Proactive versus reactive. I will say that 80% of the calls that I get are people saying, I need to move. I need to move now. Mom has cognitive changes and the neighbors found her wandering down the street, or mom's in a nursing home and they just gave me this piece of paper that says that she has to get out in 48 hours and she can't come home because she can't navigate the stairs. What am I going to do? And now we're running. And now we're in panic mode, and no one makes great decisions in panic mode. So it is always best to plan ahead and to keep your mind open to all the options and to explore the options so that if something happens, you're prepared. So things to think about when you are looking at planning are safety and supervision. So have there been falls? Has somebody been wandering? Are they not eating meals like they should? I can tell you 35 years as a home care physical therapist, I would go into seniors' homes, and so many times they say, I don't need to eat 3 meals a day. I don't do much. Well, yes, you do. Your body needs nutrition. It does. And a lot of times when I dug, it's because you're too tired. It takes too much. I'm only cooking for one. Those things are issues, and you can't have optimal health if you're not doing those, eating well and having safe environments. access to care? Is it getting too hard to get to the doctors? Are you finding yourself canceling doctor's appointments, not because it's snowing and ice out, but because it's raining, right? Or you just don't feel like it. If you're not getting to the doctors, you're maybe missing care. They may find something that they can treat quickly that won't cause a lot of harm, but if left untreated, may cause you significant impairment. Managing medications. As a PT going into people's homes, I could say probably 99% of the time I would walk into someone's home, and as I look around, there's a pill on the floor. There's a pill over there. For a whole number of reasons, we don't want people missing their pills. They turn their pills over, and one spills and they don't realize it. Or I've had people call me up and go, I filled mom's pill box on Monday, and I went on Wednesday, and they're all gone. Did she take them? Did she not take them? Did she flush them down the toilet? Do we know? Right? So managing medications can be an issue. Changes in personal hygiene. So I always use the example of a gentleman who's always worn a button-down shirt, trousers, belt, his entire adult life. And all of a sudden we go in and he's in sweats. And he says, it's just easier. Chances are it's not just easier. Chances are the dexterity's a little harder. The buttons are harder. Can't get the belt done, right? Those changes in personal hygiene, they're not showering. They're someone who showered every day and now they shower once a week, once every 2 weeks. And they say, I don't do much. But it may be more than that. It may be this little fear of getting into the shower, or they're having a hard time stepping over the tub. And those are just triggers that it's time to start thinking about some other things. And then, Kate talked about basic socialization and connections. I'm going to just expand on that. Socialization is so, so important. One of the things we learned through COVID when everybody was isolated was how damaging it is, both mentally and physically. We saw a 53% increase in dementia diagnoses during COVID. And what changed? We were isolated. We are created to be social beings. We need each other. We need to hug. We need to touch. We need to smile. We need to talk to each other. And so socialization and peer-to-peer socialization, having family come in is wonderful, and I love it. Your adult children coming in, that's great and fabulous. But I don't talk to my son, who's 26, the same way that I talk to my friends who are also 60, right? You don't talk to your friends the same way you talk to even your adult children. And so having peer-to-peer connections is important. And so when your social sphere shrinks to it's just an adult child coming to visit, that in and of itself may be a reason to look at other options, okay? Because social isolation is devastating. We are meant to talk and be with each other. So pros of staying in your home, Kate went through some. I'm going to just go through some quickly. The comfort of maintaining your own environment, maintaining your own routine, potential for personalized in-home care. And number one, it avoids the stress of moving. Change is hard. Any change is hard. And so that emotional stress and the stress of moving just gets avoided if you stay home. And you have the flexibility when you age in place and stay in your own home of potentially modifying the house, okay? But those home modifications can be costly. Personalized in-home care ranges from $32,000 to $38 an hour. They all have a 4-hour minimum. And so when you do the math, if you need long periods of care in your home, it can get quite expensive. Okay? So some cons of staying in your own home. You still have to maintain your house. I'll keep speaking, she's going to work. You still have to maintain it. You still have to pay your taxes on it. You still have to shovel snow and rake leaves and clean and do dishes. You have to do all those things. That's it, yeah. You have to do all those things when you're in your home. And so that can be difficult because maybe you're not able to do the snow and you got to hire somebody to mow the lawn and rake the leaves. And now you're cha-ching and cha-ching and cha-chinging, adding to your cost of staying in your home. What do you want to do? Yeah. And that's what we did, and it'll go up there, but it won't. Oh, look at that, yay! I told you the cavalry was coming. All right. Okay. So there are higher costs for long-term. We talked about long-term in-home care can actually be higher costs than moving to a community. You have limited access to home care. If you are homebound, it's hard to get. Most doctors don't do home visits anymore, right? Eye doctors, dentists, dermatologists, heart specialists, all those specialty docs, they're not coming to your home. You have to go to them. And it can be unsafe if your mobility or health declines. And again, the risk of social isolation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about senior living because in most people's mind, when I say senior living, they have a picture, and the picture is a nursing home. Okay, and that's not senior living. So there are a variety of different options for senior living. Residential care homes. Residential care homes are smaller. They're usually converted houses, and a lot of times, Medicaid or Title 19 will cover that cost. There's only a few in the state of Connecticut, so they do tend to have longer wait times. You do have to be able to exit the house independently. So if you need help walking, then residential care home would not be a good fit. But if you don't, that might be a good fit. A subsidized assisted living is an assisted living community that's subsidized by the state. They usually go based on your rent, based on your income, and it's a percentage of your income would be your rent. And then there are programs, the home care program could cover assistance and care. Then there are independent living communities, and those are five-star resort-like communities. They are absolutely beautiful. They provide 3 meals a day, weekly housekeeping and linen changes, transportation, concierge services, activities, built-in socialization. Assisted living is, again, most of the time it is 5-star resort-style living again. You have your own apartment. It could be a studio. It could be a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom. Some even have 3 bedrooms. The advantage of an assisted living is the care is right there. So if you need something, there's nurses on staff, and they're there usually from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then on call overnight, but there's care staff there 24/7. So if something comes up, you push your pendant that they give you, and somebody comes to you. Or if you're not feeling well, you can go down to the wellness office, and have them check you out. It's health monitoring by a licensed nurse. They also have memory care assisted livings that specialize in people with dementia and memory issues. So they are secure communities because we don't want people that have memory issues to wander. So they're safe. They provide activities. They provide all different levels of activities depending on what the people, the residents in the community need. And then there's continuum of care. So there's communities out there that have everything. So they have independent living, they have assisted living, they have memory care, they may have a residential care, and they have skilled nursing, all on one campus. Those typically have a large buy-in, right? There's a lot of upfront money that has to be put up for that, but there are a lot of other communities out there that don't have that large buy-in. So these are types of services that assisted living provides to people. So they can provide assistance with dressing and grooming, emergency calls, socialization, laundry. I'm not going to read it. You can kind of get a good look, but there's a lot of activities and a lot of programming that is provided in a senior living community. And these are just some pictures because I wanted to show you, because again, most people think senior living, they think nursing home. And it's the farthest thing from that. So as you can see, it's beautiful, luxurious. And they have a variety of different things, from movie theaters to bingo to professors coming in from universities. And a lot of the universities will have their orchestras come and practice or give a concert. So there's a lot of different opportunities in a senior living community. So what are some of the pros? We talked about it. There's built-in socialization. There's professional care 24/7. There's no home maintenance, no repair, no housekeeping worries. If you want your TV mounted, you call maintenance and you say, I want my TV mounted right there. And they do it. It's great. It's a safe environment. There's fall prevention built in. There's emergency call systems that are there for you. There's somebody there 24/7. So if something happens in the middle of the night, you push a button and someone's there within minutes. You have access to care as your needs change. So these communities have doctors that come in. So there's primary care doctors that come in weekly. There's dermatologists that come in. There's hearing doctors that come in. There's nurse practitioners that come in. There's even dentists that come in. So you can certainly keep your own doctors, and that's absolutely fine. But if you needed to change because you're having trouble getting somewhere, there's doctors available. And you have 3 meals a day, 3 healthy meals, and they don't always have to be healthy. You can still get your hot dog, right? But at the same time you get your hot dog, you can also get salmon or filet, right? So there's a variety of different options available for you. So what are some of the cons? Well, the cons are emotional challenge of leaving home, and that's huge. Some people look at me and say, what do I do with all my stuff? I've lived here 60 years. We can help you with that. It's hard to let go. And what I recommend to people is start decluttering and start letting go now, because it will be easier later down the road. Adjusting to new routines and shared spaces. You have your own apartment, but you're sharing your dining. You're sharing the library. You're sharing those common spaces, and sometimes that's an adjustment. Potentially higher upfront costs, and some limited control of your own schedule, right? Sometimes there's specific dining hours. So you have to, if you want to eat, you have to go during those dining hours. But in some communities, they have all-day dining, right? So you can limit those depending on what your needs are. So home is more than just a building. And one of the things that I do is I will do home safety assessments. I will come to people's homes and go through room by room and say, make recommendations. You can take the recommendations or you can make the little ones and not the big ones, or do it as you need to. But getting a home safety evaluation would be a great step. Taking a look. Maybe we can make some modifications so you can stay home safely, right? And Kate talked about she's got the anti-slip things under her carpets, but I would say to her, you need the double-sided tape to tape down the edges so that you don't catch a walker or your toe. It may not slip, but it may fold up and become a tripping hazard. So there are things that as I have done thousands of home safety assessments as a PT that I look at and say, oh, I would recommend that. There are motion detector night lights. So if you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, you don't have to flip on a bright light, and you don't have to have a night light because a lot of people like their bedrooms dark. But if you get up and you walk past a certain spot, it trips that motion detector to put on a nice night light to get you safely to where you're going. There's all kinds of things, stair lights, to make sure if you're going up and down stairs that you can see the steps, because that last step or two are the most dangerous step or twos. And a lot of people miss them. So things like putting fluorescent tape on that last step or two so that you know, oh, I've got 2 steps because it's fluorescent bright green now and I can see that. So there's a lot of little tricks of the trade that we can do, and we can make recommendations to do those things. But home is more than a building. And so whether you're home in your house or whether you move to a senior living community, that now becomes your home, and it's still your home, and it's okay. And so many times people tell me, the one thing I get a lot is, I wish I had moved here a year ago, right? Because it frees you up from doing all those things that you have to do in your home. I'll just speak for myself. I don't like cleaning. I don't like making the bed. It's hard to get the fitted sheet under the mattress, right? I don't like cleaning. I don't mind cooking, but I don't like cleaning up after myself, right? And so if you have all those things done for you, it frees you up to do the things that you would like to do, to social, to learn a new craft or a new game, or do activities that you really would like to do. But it's a personal decision, and seniors and families should assess your specific individual needs. Every single family is different, and every single senior is different. And so you need to assess it. You need to talk with your family. And that's one of the biggest things that I would recommend is talk to your family, let them know. And one of the things that we do is we come up with an agreement if you're not ready, and you say, okay, we've done this with my son. Okay, when this happens, then we can start looking. I want to stay home as long as I can. But if I always use my mom has since passed, but when you start burning food because you put a pot on and you forgot, right? One time, that's all I'm going to give you, because it's a danger. When you have a few falls, when you miss doing checks and we get notices that you're going to shut off utilities because you forgot to pay, or when you start paying double bills, right? I have a lot of people that pay medical bills twice because they get the bill and they get the explanation of benefits and they think they're both bills, so they pay them twice. Right? Or they get a receipt. They pay the oil bill, but then they get a receipt in the mail from the oil thing, and they think that's another bill, and they pay it again. I had a client who had over $5,000 in credit to the oil company because she kept paying them twice. Right? You could do a whole lot better than giving them extra money. They take enough of it. Right? So long-term planning is crucial. Talk to your family. Say, maybe I'm not ready yet, but maybe we should take a look at a community. And trust me, the communities will wine and dine you. And they're not going to push you. And it's great to explore, because if you now know, and again, God forbid something happens, you fall and break your hip and you can't go home. Maybe you just need a little bit more time. You've already checked out some communities, oh, I want to go to this one. So that's a simple call, right? And you can make that move rather than I can't go home and now I can't go out and see them because I'm in rehab with a hip fracture. And I've got to have my son or my daughter go look and they're choosing for me. I like to have as much independence as possible, and I like to have as much control as possible, if I'm being honest, right? And so I want to be able to have some input. So start early, talk to your family, make those decisions together. Try a short term or a respite stay. That's always a great thing before you decide. Most communities will do that. And this is just a little bit about me. I'm just going to skip over that. But one of the things that we do is help people plan. So that's the biggest thing, is making a plan and deciding to check things out, keep an open mind, allow for options. Staying at home, we have resources, anything that you could want for staying at home. I have home care option resources. We have handyman resources. We have caregiving resources, support group resources. So if you need something at home, whether it's something small, like you need a grab bar installed, or whether it's something big, like you need to take the tub shower that you have out and put in a walk-in shower, we have people that I work with that are trusted, that can help you with that. So that's my presentation, and I thank you. Thank you. We got the working.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Kate. Now, if anybody, and we've kept you here forever, and I apologize for our technology hiccup, but if you have any questions for either Liz or Kate, please just holler them out and we'll get them to answer for you. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Do you have experience with homeowners actually wanting to turn their own home into a residential?
Experience with homeowners trying to turn their own home into a group home.
I don't have any experience with people turning their own home into an assisted living or a residential care community. However, I do know that the state of Connecticut has a ton of regulations. Surprise, surprise, right? But there's a community that's a great residential home in Shelton for dementia patients, small home. She converted houses. She was up and running for 2 years, and the state came in and they shut her down. They shut her down because the doorways were 1.5 inches too narrow. She had no one, she didn't take anyone in wheelchairs, so there was never any need for a wheelchair to fit through. No one had an issue. They shut her down. It cost her $350,000 to get everything done and reapply, because you have to then reapply and start the process from the beginning. So I know there's a lot of hoops. I would just caution, if you're looking to do something like that, to make sure you investigate everything, so that you know what needs to be done.
On that topic, Mike and I foster adults with intellectual disabilities. And if anyone is interested, I can give you a phone number to the company that we got licensed through, and they help find someone that fits with you. There's less regulation, I think, but they've been wonderful.
That's a great resource. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Sylvia. Anybody else have any questions? Yes.
I have one friend lived in Simsbury. He just died, and basically he could one son basically hire the Kenya people live in the home. And then right now, the father died, the Kenya people still, they still let him live in the home. Has anybody has any experience in hiring somebody outside the country?
So yeah, so there are many of the home care caregiving agencies hire people from outside the country, and they are primarily South African, Jamaican, or Eastern European. This was So there are and many of them do live in care, so they actually live in with somebody for months on end.
You know the general cost?
It is $350 a day. $350 a day for a live-in caregiver.
So, okay, so the whole year.
And there's some regulations. They have to have 8 hours of undisturbed sleep and things like that. But they're roughly about $350 a day.
Yeah, it's a lot. Does anybody else have any questions? We've kept you here for a long time. Go ahead.
Both of you mentioned that there's an Alzheimer's support group. Can I get contact info for them?
So absolutely, if you want to reach out to me, I can send you the link to Alzheimer's support groups. There's a variety of them. A lot of the assisted livings will do them, but the Alzheimer's Association also has multiple virtual support groups as well.
Do you have anything to add to that, Kate? Or is that pretty much, okay, all right. Yes?
My question was when I saw the Simsbury looked like it was really great as far as compared to the rest of the state in certain diseases, but why? Anybody know why Alzheimer's is higher?
I don't know. Kate, have they done any research on that?
Not specifically.
No.
The question was that Simsbury is lower than a lot of other communities in terms of the rate of diseases, with the exception of Alzheimer's. We seem to have a high rate of Alzheimer's in Simsbury, and she was asking why. And I don't know why.
I would hazard a guess too, is that Simsbury people have. And right. So I was going along that same lines, but my guess would be I think Simsbury has a higher educational level. So people are seeking doctors, and so they're seeking things earlier, and so diagnoses are happening earlier. Yeah. That's just a guess. I have no.
Not really necessarily too higher, it's just down sooner, is what I think I hear you.
Again, this is a total guess from my part.
Just a guess.
Right.
Kate would know because they do a lot of research at the Center on Aging. So, and the Center on Aging will be represented at our Aging in Place Expo in September. And I do want to direct you to, there's a lot of interesting information over here that Kate provided as well. Especially the same kind of house protection, safety issues.
Right.
That file, the drug file, what do they call it? File of life. Does everybody have one? Wow, that's great. Does anybody not know what I'm talking about? File of life? Have you all heard of it? It sounds like they all know. That's great. So, yes.
Do you have a date for the September?
September 13th from 10 to 2. It's a Saturday. And it's from 10, and it will be right here in this room. And we'll have tables set up around the room with people who you can talk to. Okay?
There will be places.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, People have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue.
Even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
Your schools,
and your government
come together.